Hey there, guys. My name is Sam.
And my name is John.
I'm sorry for making that the most obnoxious intro I've ever done.
Yeah, you said it in a weird way, so I felt compelled to as well. But
This is hey, welcome to Sam and John's Book Club. It's a book club where we talk about books. So far, we're really exclusively a Stormlight Archive book club.
right.
The plan was to read
Maybe
through
someday.
the first 3 books of the series, including Edge Dancer, which is like a novella between books 2 and 3, leading up to the release of Rhythm of War.
Yes.
In November. Release date actually was confirmed November. Just this last week, Brandon Sanderson did a little blog post or something saying that he
tweeted
final
that the first draft is done.
Final draft is done.
Well, right, yeah.
Yeah.
The one that he's sending to
he's like
for approval.
He's like sending this to an editor or something. I don't know the whole process. But
yeah.
It's like, it's happening, very exciting. So we're going to read that as well. And then about 6 months from now, or even longer, 7 or 8 months from now, we can finally read another book. It's going to be cool. Who knows what that'll be.
That'll be great.
Yeah, though, we just did end of part 4, of book 2.
Yep.
And that was pretty fun.
What
happens in part 4 of book 2? Is Syl maybe dead for real? Is Kaladin gonna find out?
Chasm.
Does Shallan die in Chasm? Is Kaladin gonna figure out that Shallan is a Surge Binder? Is Dalinar gonna find out that Kaladin's a Surge Binder? Is Kaladin gonna accidentally, whoopsie daisy, fall in love with Shallan a little? Who's to say? Any of these things.
Will Lopen's arm grow back? All this and more.
Will Lopen actually get like almost every chapter is just Lopen?
Yeah,
who knows?
Weirdly. It's sneaky at first, but then they kind of hit you over the head with it. All right, let's get into it.
Let's get into it. And again, I'm excited to read the whole letter at the time as well at the end of this, which is still the plan.
Sure.
Okay, so what are we doing? We're hanging out. It's a party. It's a dinner party, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep, it's a feast. Yeah.
We're at first just getting some little notes from Navani. She tells us that gems were not originally part of the Shard Blades. They used to be summonable and dismissible, even if without gems, right?
Right.
But
gems. That's the only purpose.
The gems are only for bonding, yeah. So the Shard Blades are still supernatural, and when the Radiants used them, no gems involved. So what are these Shard Blades? Where does their mysterious power come from?
Right.
How could more of them theoretically be made, as we've discussed, right? One of the friends still said that, I think.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, like, gem-powered, which is how all cool magic things are made in modern times.
Right. Yeah. We find out the counter has ticked down to 11 days. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs.
We also learned that there was a point in Yasna's life where she just, like, aggressively matured super fast. Navani doesn't know what happened to her. At some point, though, it was like Yasna just like didn't want to admit that she had ever been a child, you know?
Yep.
So
kind of strange, but
maybe, dude.
Whatever.
Maybe Yasna went into some sort of alternate dimension and she lived like 100 lifetimes, right? And then she came back to this one, and now she has the experience of somebody who's been alive for like 10,000 years. And Navani's trying to be her mom, and Yasna's like, I simply do not have time for this. Like,
I've had so many moms, you would not believe.
That's my fan theory right now, dude. Yasna, her backstory is gonna come in hot sooner or later, and it's gonna be cool.
Mm-hmm. Wit is just dunking on Amaram for being a bad person, but he's like skirting around it because he's Wit.
Yep.
And
Wit,
so Amaram's like, "Oh, you."
Hoyd knows everything.
Like a single bead of sweat. You know?
Hoyd knows everything, including Amaram's deep dark secrets. So, if only he would be a little bit more explicit in his insults.
Yep, he's trying to like kind of undermine Kaladin, real sneaky like to Dalinar, just to cover himself a little bit more.
Amaram is, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Amaram is just a bummer of a guy.
Yeah, just a real, like, what, 3? I don't know.
Oh, maybe lower than that. I don't know.
Yeah, just the worst.
We also learned that Navani and Gavilar had been having difficulties before he died, and that Navani didn't really appear to be broken up over his death at all. Because when she was talking about Yasna's death, she was saying, like, this is the first time this has happened to me. This being, a great sense of loss over the death of a loved one, right?
Grief.
And it's like, I wonder, this also makes me just want to know more about Gavilar's backstory, right? Like, I'm sure this is all stuff we'll learn eventually, because Brandon Sanderson he do be that way.
He doth deliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
So somebody has released the accounts of Dalinar's visions that Navani's been recording, but they've kind of been edited to make him look silly and make it look like Navani was just kind of humoring him, and there's another separate commentary just kind of further undermining the whole thing, trying to discredit Dalinar even more than he already is.
Yeah.
Based on these visions.
Amram's a little bit too enthusiastic about saying, no, I believe you. I love this. I think this is great. Because
that's Amram's whole thing.
That's Amram. He's just a bootlicker, whatever.
Yeah.
And Navani's upset about it, but Dalinar's like, I'm just going to own it. And he stands up on a table and says, like, yep, these are my visions, idiots. Try me.
They've been undermined. Some of it makes it sound silly, but it's true. And they're like, oh.
Yeah,
all right.
So bada bing, bada boom. He handled that
also,
probably about as well as he could have.
Yeah. Dalinar kind of picks up on the fact that Wit is more important than he seems, not exactly sure how.
Well, I mean, Dalinar says the words to Wit, are you a herald? Or he says, are you one of them? And he says, one of what? And he's like, a herald, are you a herald? And Wit's like, no, I am but a man. But I'm like, thank you for just asking that question. Like,
right,
it's
Dalinar
good question, right?
Dalinar only improves as chapters go on.
Yeah. I just like that. He's just straightforward about it,
Right.
And later he's straightforward with Kaladin about a similar sort of thing. Nobody else is straightforward. I just love, what a breath of fresh air every time Dalinar is in a
Every
scene.
time Dalinar does something, you're like, cool, all right, I can kick back and relax. He's going to handle this better than I ever would have dreamed of doing.
Yeah. Wit does say, I've discovered a place I must be, but I'm not sure why I need to be there. So Wit's going to skedaddle again, going off somewhere to maybe save the world a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah, I'll hop to another book real quick.
And it makes me wonder, does Hoyt have a compass like the one in Pirates of the Caribbean? And it's just like pointing, he's like, he just knows where he has to go, but he doesn't know why, right?
It's the crisis compass.
The crisis compass, yeah, so that he can always...
It's a combination of the thing from Pirates of the Caribbean and that sundial from our D&D campaign way back when.
Yes,
that pointed to disaster in the world.
Always points towards the greatest evil.
Yes.
And Hoyt does have the line, if I have to watch this world crumble and burn to get what I need, I will do so.
Right, he was like, cool. Your world's important and all, but I'm not here to save it necessarily,
Yeah, so Wit's...
I'm all about the cosmic sense.
Yeah, his purpose here is not actually to help with this whole conflict. He says, like, oh yeah, I'll help if I can, but this just isn't my goal, right?
Right.
Wit's here for something greater. There's something he needs. Oh, man.
Oh, jeez.
Tell me, Brandon Sanderson.
Release that series already.
And Wit also says, if Odium finds me, he will shred my soul into pieces. Which sounds bad.
Unpleasant.
I wouldn't want that if I were.
Odium and the big evil cheese grater of souls.
And it makes me wonder, in their letter, they're talking about this guy, Race, right? Is Race Odium? Is that the same?
I think so. I think we heard... I mean, we know he has a bunch of names, but I feel like we've heard that name in connection to him.
Well, I'm sure we'll find out more. But if we find out that it is true, we'll be like, we knew it, remember? We said that. And if it turns out that it's not true, we'll just never address it again, and maybe no one will notice.
Haha,
right? It's the perfect strat. Okay, now we're moving on forward. They're out on the plateaus. They're doing a little expedition thingy, right? So that... Shallan can go see a gem heart.
A chasm fiend corpse.
A chrysalis.
Yes.
And Syl is still around, but she's stupid now.
She's getting dumber.
And Kaladin cannot breathe in Stormlight.
Yeah. Things are getting tricky. And then he's like, hey, what's the deal? She's like, well, I think you will know pretty well what the deal is, buddy boy.
Yeah, you did a bad thing. Bad boy. And she bonks him on the nose.
Yeah, she's like, boop, and then flies away.
So she's not dead, but their bond seems to be broken, right? Because that was the deal. That was the bond. She gives him Stormlight powers, he gives her sentience, and now they both lost those things, right?
Yeah, it seems like there's like a little shred, like he gets like a little bit of Stormlight, and she still like has a little bit of sentience when she, she still like can tell him why things aren't working.
Well, It did when he was falling, right? Which is actually coming up here. Let's talk about that too. He falls into the chasm. Somebody pulls a lever on the bridge. It crashes. Adolin manages to save Dalinar from falling, which was probably the goal of the assassination attempt. But Shallan and Kaladin, alongside a bunch of other folks, fall down into a chasm. And Kaladin here does get a little bit of Stormlight, and when he gets it, he hears Syl scream in like the most heart-wrenching way you can imagine, right? And the Stormlight was enough to probably save him from dying on impact of the ground. However, this makes me wonder, right? Like, did Syl, like, willfully break off their bond to, like, protect herself from some sort of, like, from death or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then she decided it was worth it to save Kaladin. She renewed their bond, but in doing so, like, killed herself.
Right, to give him enough Stormlight somehow.
Right.
Yeah, that's
because now he's an Oathbreaker.
That's pretty much how I figured it.
That's yikes. But also, it's kind of an anticlimactic way for Syl to die, so I'm holding out hope.
I know, yeah. I mean, like, this,
Like, I would not consider this an explicit on-screen death, right?
Yeah, not an on-screen death for sure. Definitely just some spooky screams.
Yeah, so I'm holding out hope, for sure. Also, Kaladin says, "I'm broken," and Syl replies, "That's what they all were, silly." Probably referring to the Knights Radiant, right?
Yep.
The Knights Radiant were all broken, and later, actually, we get some news from Teft that is making me think maybe all Knights Radiant are required to have tragic backstories. Maybe it's like mechanically they need a tragic backstory to be a Knight Radiant.
Yeah, you can't be a good guy unless you've had a terrible past.
Yeah, but it might actually be like a legitimate mechanic of the world,
right,
not like just the author has decided that the good guys will have tragic backstories. It might be like they actually need them to develop powers. We'll find out.
One of the scouts saw Kaladin flying around back when he was doing that, and they're thinking it was Szeth, of course, because that's the only person they know can do that.
Yeah, and Kaladin's like, well, I'll just let him think that, right?
Yep, I mean, what else am I going to do?
Moash is walking around in his shard-blade plate, and it does actually make his eyes lighter. Confirmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Eyes literally change color.
Yep.
Also, there's this little scene where Shallan is like, how could you hate Adolin? Look at him. He's so likable. Actually, she's saying it. She's being sarcastic, saying the opposite.
Right,
sort of thing.
yeah.
And it goes over to a scene of Adolin letting some, like, water boy try on his helmet, and the guy's, like, posing, and they're all laughing. And that scene for me was... It's been one of the easiest to visualize scenes, like, out of this entire book. Like, normally, I am not painting mind pictures, right?
Yeah.
Like, I rarely... Like, even during, like, fight scenes, I rarely play the fight scene in my head. Like, I'm not, like, thinking about it like I'm watching a movie, right? I'm just reading it and, like, thinking these words are cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But with this one, like, it's so easy to picture this scene in the animation style of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Like... And it just made me think how bad I really do want to see this animated. The other one was actually when Renarin was throwing himself off that roof when Zaya was having him train. Yeah, I love
rhythmically
these
to the fight scene.
I love these scenes that just so clearly draw a picture in my mind. Like, I can't help but have the picture drawn in my mind. So thank you, Brandon Sanderson. That's a good one.
This would be a scene in the TV show or movie.
Yeah, this is I don't know, just really dug that. And that was so now they fall into the chasm. Crash. And
there's a little detail right in the middle where they say this is an off year, so there won't be a storm on light day in the middle of the weeping like there usually is.
Oh, okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So. So yeah, they fall into the chasm because it's a Sadius man was on the bridge that they were crossing.
Also, when Kaladin stirs at the bottom of the chasm, he hears the voice of the Stormfather. Yep. Who's like, "You or I hate you." I don't remember what he says. It's not good.
Yeah. Bad vibes.
Bad vibes. Real bad vibes. And I'm like, oh no, did Kaladin kill Syl? But again, I really want to think he didn't because it would just...
Yeah, I hope not. But who's to say? So Kaladin assumes he saved Shallan because they both survived. Shallan assumes she saved Kaladin because they both survived, and they don't know about each other's powers.
Yeah. And I love it that, Kaladin was, like, trying to divert her and not let her know that he saved her, right? So he's like, well, sometimes Windspren save falling people. And then Shallan, who wanted to divert him, was, like, so willing to just jump on it and be like, yes, Windspren, of course. And I thought it was just funny that they were both so willing to believe this dumb thing because they both think that they're playing the other one, It's kind of funny. All right, and now they're talking about Chasm Fiends again. And at this point, I'm starting to think that there's this thing if you're writing a play, it is said that if you show a gun in the first act, that gun should go off in the third act, right?
Right. Yep.
And they're mentioning Chasm Fiends again. They've been mentioning him since book 1, right? And I'm starting to think like, this feels kind of third acty, you know?
Right. Yeah. We've only seen the one during the hunt where Elukar's like saddle failed or whatever.
Yeah. But I mean, down in the chasms, they saw the shadow of one,
MIA.
right? And they've been talking about him every time they go down in the chasms. It's like, well, better watch out for Chasm Fiends, right?
Yeah. So they keep yelling for help because, of course, they're stuck in these chasms. They don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that attracts a chasm fiend.
Oh, no.
SpaghettiOs.
Also, I do want to draw attention to the fact that when you have Stormlight, you basically do become immortal. Like, let's just lay it out, right?
Yeah.
Heal limbs that have been severed by a freaking shard blade. Survive falls from just incredible heights, right? Like, you basically become unkillable. I don't know how far it goes, right? Like,
yeah.
let's say you just get like stabbed right through your lungs or your let's say that you have your throat slit, right? Lift was able to heal that kid when he got his throat slit, right? Like even if you like get a very fatal wound, you're still technically alive for a little bit, right?
Yeah. I think like the only thing that could kill them would be like a shard blade to the neck or something, you know.
Yeah, but it's just crazy how like when you have Stormlight, you're basically immortal. It's like really overpowered, even without like screw the surges. You know, just being able to inhale Stormlight is like crazy power. So
yeah, right. Everything else is just gravy.
Yeah. Shallan asks, "When have I ever treated someone like a plaything?" And I'm like, "Well, the first time you guys met is a pretty good example." Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kaladin doesn't say that at first. He says, "When I got thrown in jail," and it's like, Kaladin, that doesn't make any sense, you idiot.
You're right.
But then he says, "Well, what about the first time we met?" And she's like, well, okay, that's
No, you're right. You got me. Yeah. So they're kind of going back and forth about their differences. You know, like kind of. Or understanding each other in a weird argument.
Yeah, they're calling each other out, just both pretty accurately. Yeah. And it's been said that, you know, enduring hardship with someone is like one of the best ways to strengthen like a relationship, right? And I'm sitting here thinking like, these guys are about to endure some pretty serious hardship.
If they even manage to survive,
Which I think they will, because killing off both the main characters in one go would be pretty questionable.
That's bold. So yeah, they get chased by the Chasm Fiend, and they are able to divert it. Shallan's using her illusions and stuff.
Yep, she's trying to be covert. Wow, that was hard to think.
Yes.
She's trying to be covert about it, but Kaladin is kind of picking up on what's going on.
Yep. Sorry, I was kind of getting out of order there. We have a real brief moment with Teft during one of these chapters. All the bridgemen are like waiting for Kaladin to come back because they're like, he can endure anything.
Yeah.
And he talks about the Envisages, who were a cult who thought returning the Voidbringers would also return the Knights Radiant, which, I mean...
So they're... Yeah.
Not the craziest idea, but certainly not the most sound either.
So I was like, okay, so their whole thing is they're trying to return the Voidbringers? But it turns out, no. Right. Their whole thing is that they're trying to gain Stormlight powers by killing themselves.
Right, yeah.
So that is kind of whack.
So that's what Teft was a part of and is no longer a part of, and that's why he knows so much stuff.
Well, not only is he no longer a part of them, he turned them in.
Right.
And this is something that I want to pay a little bit more attention to than you might immediately think we should. It's that he said he turned them into his city lord, right? And then they all got executed. And he was thinking, that's weird that they got executed because they were just killing themselves anyways, you know?
Right, yeah.
And last time we heard about somebody just like, oh yeah, they were just a couple of silversmiths or whatever who died in jail, right? That ended up being weirdly significant a little bit later, right? So it makes me think, who is this city lord? Was it Amaram? Is this cult being brought to his attention, right? And then is this the reason that he is now interested in bringing back the Voidbringers? And did he have them killed to hush him up so that he wouldn't be incriminated later? You know?
Yeah, I could see it.
It's something like that. I don't know. I think
there was some connection to Amaram. Yeah, that could be it. But it's hard to not see the similarity with them both looking to bring back the Voidbringers in some way or other.
Yeah, Amaram's a little less focused on the suicide aspect
All right,
of the whole thing.
Probably good that he's, less focused on that.
Also, Teft is, like, griping about how, like, oh, now that I have money, I'm irresponsible again or something, and it makes me, it's like,
Teft, he can't be trusted with money.
Teft is definitely spending his money on something dishonest, right? Might be drugs, John, might be, dog fighting. We already have another character that does dog fighting, though. I don't know. Something. Teft, when Teft has money, he uses it in a bad way.
Yeah. Can you hear my cat making constant noise?
No.
Okay, good.
But if it's in the recording, it'll be cute, so it's okay.
Well, yeah, it's just like she's just going like and has been doing it this entire time constantly.
Well, I haven't heard it, but I think that, Discord does some noise gating that OBS doesn't do, so it might show up in the recording. I don't know.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll find out.
There's one line. All right, so that'll happen with Teft. Very cool. Very cool.
Yep.
There was one line where Shallan was like, "Well, look on the bright side. At least you were just enslaved and not executed, right?" And Kaladin said the words, and I quote, "I wouldn't have wanted to be the executioner who tried that."
Oh yeah.
God, what an edgelord
moment.
Oh my god. And then just like Tin was lecturing Shallan about, like, you don't know the world like I do, kid. Now Kaladin's doing the same thing. You haven't had to deal with pain or death like I have. And I'm just like, yikes, dude. People have got to stop assuming things about Shallan. This is
seriously.
It's just not good.
Yeah. So they're walking around the chasms and
Shallan sorry. Also, when we were in Teft's thing, one more time. He did say that the reason his cult was all trying to kill themselves to gain Stormlight powers was because, they had weird knowledge about the Radiants, including what all the surges do and all that, right? And he's saying that they also, among that knowledge, knew that only people who, like, had near-death experiences or something could become Radiants. Didn't he say something like that?
Gain to the powers.
And that's where I write my line, like, oh, so it's canon that only people with tragic backstories can be Knights Radiant.
Right,
Or at least they're more likely
to be. Makes sense. Right.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, yeah, so they're walking through the plains, and Shallan is kind of trying to draw what she thinks is like a top-down view of the path they're taking to, like, get an idea with her weird drawing powers.
To keep them going west,
she realizes, with Kaladin's help, because, he saw the whole plains below him when he was flying around, that it is, in fact, a pattern. She's like, what the heck? And realizes that information means that she could probably find the Oath Gate to Urithiru, and maybe even the origin.
Yeah, she's assuming it's right at the center of the Shattered Plains, right? This Oath Gate. Yep. I don't think she said origin. I think she said the city and the Oath Gate.
I feel like she mentioned the origin, but maybe not.
And the idea is that if the plains are symmetrical, like maybe one of those sound diagrams, if you can just find two of those lines of symmetry where they intersect, will be the center, right?
Yep. Right.
So that's what she's going to do.
Yep.
Kaladin has a line where he says, one of the 10 fools, specifically Eshu, who spoke of things he did not understand to those who did.
Yeah.
And I just like that. That was just some nice little world building, And that's a good thing for one of the 10 fools to have it be his thing, because that is it
made me wonder what the other 10 fools are about.
I know. I would love to hear what each of the 10 fools is known for.
Yeah. So eventually they start talking about, well, Shallan, I guess, kind of realizes she doesn't explicitly explain it, but she, kind of describes her, like, feelings of helplessness when Kaladin is like, you never suffered hardship like me. And Shallan's like, oh, you mean like this, or like this, and this feeling, and exactly how this feels? And Kaladin's like, yeah, like that.
Oh my god, yeah. And he's like looking into her eyes and seeing, like, she's not just, BSing here. She's speaking from experience.
Right. Yeah. And so that, he kind of gives her a break a little bit. But before they can talk about it, the Chasm Fiend returns.
Well, right before that, she smiles after she goes through all this stuff about being, just she should be a broken person, Kaladin is thinking. And he says, how do you do it? And she replies, it helps if you're crazy. And I just liked that. I was like, oh yeah, Shallan, own it.
Right. And Kaladin was really inspired by the fact that she had suffered at least something similar to him, but wasn't nearly as edgy her whole life about it.
Yeah. So he's like looking at her now, smiling despite being, she should be just as broken as him, if not worse, right? And he's like, it's like looking at the sun, and I'm like, oh my god, I think this is the moment where Kaladin is a little bit falling in love with Shallan.
Right. He kind of like equates her to Tien a little bit, like just really piling on the good feels.
Yeah. Also, Shallan.
And then the chasm.
Shallan theorizes that a weapon broke the city apart. It caused a giant earthquake or something.
Right, and she hopes that has not also caused like the Oath Gate to break somehow.
Yeah.
With the shattering. Yeah. And then the chasm fiend returns.
Yeah.
Yes. So they're it pops back up, and they like manage to wedge themselves in. So last time they diverted it by running to some corpses, so it would just eat the corpses and then walk away. And that worked out fine. But now it like kind of gets the jump on them, so they wedge themselves in a corner, and they see it sort of above them, like looking down. So it knows it's in there, and it's trying to reach in, but it can't. It's too big.
Yep. And
they're kind of stuck because the high storm's coming.
Kaladin's like, I'll go run it away, and you run the other way, and I'll try to fight it maybe, and I'll probably die, but it's cool, I'm into it. And she's like, whoa, no, wait, take this. And she gives him a shard blade. Whoa.
Shard blade.
So she reveals that to Kaladin. Wonderful. I love it when my main characters reveal things about themselves to each other.
Find things out about
beautiful.
each other,
And luckily we're in for a lot more of that very soon.
Funny what near-death experiences can do, man.
Yeah, and I'm just wondering, is Shallan's shard blade an honor blade? Thoughts?
Yeah, I was like, because I was thinking, where did she get it? Because we have not like seen where it came from. I don't know if it's an honor blade though, because then she would get like other powers from her, right? I would think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like it could be.
Maybe it happens to be the honor blade that gives her the same powers she already would have had.
They're right. Yeah,
could be. I don't know.
The old. Oh, I was gonna say a big old Mistborn spoiler, but then I thought better of it. Yeah, but like just really double down on that power.
Because like
I was thinking
it doesn't scream when Kaladin holds it, but that might just be because his bond with Syl is currently
right. And
either she's dead
to protect somebody
or something less bad.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. I was just like, well, yeah, the bond's broken. He's using it to protect somebody anyway, so maybe it's Gucci.
He also mentions that it has a strange glowing pattern along its side, which he's never seen on a shard blade before.
Oh.
But he says that might just be because he hasn't seen a shard blade in the dark.
Yeah. No, maybe you're right. I hadn't even considered the honor blade thing, but I could see it.
I think it might be an honor blade.
Yeah. But where did she get it?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like
that has not come up at all yet.
We're seeing all of her backstory from the moment her mom was lying dead on that carpet forwards, right? What happened before that, Brandon?
Right.
Brandon.
Come on, man.
Let's just start calling him by his first name. That would be fun.
Brandon.
Right? Brandon.
Help me out. Help a brother out, man.
All right, yeah. I'm hoping that, surely she's going to have at least a little bit more flashback in part 5. Because now, flashback-wise, we are, like, caught up on her flashbacks, right?
This was 1 year ago was the most recent one.
Dad dead. Helleran dead. That's all in the past, even of her flashbacks now. And she after she explains all her flashbacks to Kaladin, which is coming up soon, spoilers, she says, like, and after that I pretty much, went off to find Yasna. And it's like, okay, we're caught up.
We're caught up to the beginning of book 1, yeah.
So I'm really hoping that any flashbacks that occur in part 5 are we're gonna go rewind way, 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 way back.
Right.
And we're gonna find out.
Do one more little time skip.
How it all began, yeah.
So, Kaladin kind of makes the weird conclusion that the fact that she has a shard blade means that she's not a surge binder because of how it hurts Syl, and he assumes all surge binders work the same way with honor sprint.
Yeah.
So he kind of discounts that. But he's able to wield it. He runs out. He starts fighting this chasm fiend. Shallan runs the other way, grabs her satchel that she dropped, and then she's making illusions of herself distracting the thing and of Kaladin to confuse the chasm fiend.
And via teamwork, they kill it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Which is like kind of insane to think about because during the hunt they had an awful lot of trouble with that.
Yeah.
But Kaladin handles it no problem because Kaladin can do anything.
He does the cool thing where it's coming down to eat him, and he stabs it up through the roof of its mouth, which is
right, and it closes over him just as he dies.
Yeah. And his leg got all messed up, but that's okay.
Hey, it's fine. You can heal it with Stormlight. Hard to tell well.
Also, Shallan's Shardblade, now they have to climb up to escape the high storm up into the wall, right? Because it's going to flood down here like crazy. So she's like cutting out handholds with her Shardblade. She says, yeah, as she climbed up, it was too long and awkward to cut out from the handholds.
It shrunk.
But it shrunk.
Yeah, that was weird.
Now, this isn't new information.
Mm-hmm.
We know that Shardblades used to be able to do this. They used to be able to take different forms back in the days of the Radiance. Why can hers do this? Maybe it's because it's an honor blade.
Okay, yeah, I totally, I think I just discounted that in my mind when it happened. I was just like, oh yeah, trunk, okay, neat. Yeah, I can see it. Oh, that's a lot of eyebrows.
Yes,
Those are some confident
I did it a
eyebrows.
bunch of times. I was waiting for you to notice. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, so she cuts out little handholds going up the wall. She cuts out a big old cubby, and she has to cut in and kind of pull the rock out, and makes a little shelter for them so that they can ride out the high storm because they're not going to get back to the camp.
Yep, and then she uses some Stormlight powers to pull Kaladin up with her super strength, and he feels it. And he now has a couple of pieces of evidence for her being a Surge Binder.
Yeah, and then we get the flashback.
We get the flashback, and oh man,
oh my gosh,
Dad kills stepmom.
He knows that Balat's trying to leave, and he starts just bashing his leg in with a fire.
Yeah, they do a sword fight, which is more like a sword massacre. Mm-hmm. Balat gets all messed up. Balat, it turns out, he's actually the one that shattered the Soulcaster. He tried to stab his dad, kind of unawares, and he missed, and he hit back in his cloak where hit the pocket where the Soulcaster was. So whoops. And
so he's gonna almost kill him. And then Shallan's like, here, hey, drink this wine, hey. And Lynn's like, yeah, whatever. Sips it, throws the cup on the ground, goes back to business.
Yeah, starts bashing just the ever-living heck out of Balat's leg with this poker, and it's like...
oh, God, even reading that, I was like, that would be so painful.
I mean, at least he's not going for the head, right?
Right, yeah, he's just crippling it for life.
It could be worse, but it is awful.
It could be worse. Yeah, and we find out that Shallan, and she even mentions it as she's walking down the stairs, she's calm, cool, collected, has this plan the whole time. Yeah. This is going down. Slips the black poison plant thing.
The one her brother gave her that he was going to kill himself with.
Yeah, Wickham gave, and she was like, he said it got more potent over time, so put it in the wine. Dad drinks it, falls over dead. Thank goodness.
Yeah, and Shallan is just hard as nails. Dear Lord. Yeah. It was, for me, the line where she was just tend to his wounds. She's just giving orders to people they're on their panic.
She's just a robot.
Dead. Yeah. And she's just walking in totally down to business. Oh no, though. Oh God, Dad is not dead.
Oh Jesus Christ. Yeah, he starts waking up, but he's kind of paralyzed. The poison wasn't strong enough to kill him.
Shallan's we have to finish the job, and she looks, she looks to her brothers, and they're like, not me, and they're like, oh, geez, and she's like, and she cracks her knuckles, and she walks over,
takes her necklace off, and strangles him.
She grabs a fork and she tourniquets the necklace,
twists it
around his neck, and then she's just sitting there holding the fork, just waiting for him to die, and she sings the lullaby that he sang to her after she killed her mom.
Alright, this is the most psychopath thing any character has done, aside from maybe Amaram senselessly killing all of Kaladin's friends.
No, this is way more psychopath than that, John.
Yeah. Yeah. She says, finish the job, strangles him with a necklace he gave her while singing a lullaby. That's horrifying.
And I just want to reiterate, it is the same lullaby he sang to her after she killed her mother, right? This is just layers of messed up
trauma-ness.
Shallan is she's not joking about being crazy,
Yeah. She is legit insane.
Her brothers really are useless, though, aren't they? She really does have to do everything herself.
Right.
Oh man.
Yeah, I was reading this. This is one of the chapters that I read before we started today, and I was just standing at my counter, and many times I was just holy shit, and I just stepped away from the book for a second. I was like, oh my God, and I would write the note on my phone and go back to it. My 3 notes are, oh boy, Lynn about to die. Yep, Shallan poisoned him. Oh no, wait, didn't work, so she strangles him.
Yeah, it's just, jeez, Shallan, poor Shallan.
Oh, crazy. I mean, he's dead now, so we know how that, from then they, like, pretend he's still alive, and they have the quarries, but they're running out of money quick, and all that set in motion. Oh, boy.
Now,
Yikes.
Shallan and Kaladin are weathering the high storm in their little cubby, and they're cuddling, and it's very cute.
Right. Huddling for warmth.
And Kaladin sees some long-legged alien forms of, like, light striding through the storm, and I am wondering, are these Spren, or are these Stormform Parshendi?
I think it's Stormform Parshendi, because he mentions the Spren separately.
We didn't hear anything about the Stormform Parshendi glowing, but
no,
they might glow.
Right. And we know that they can be out in the storms with no problems, obviously.
And then he does see one of the red lightning Spren, and then he does hear chanting. And I think that we are now witnessing through Kaladin's eyes the transformation of the last of the Parshendi into storm form.
Yep.
Because they're ready, they're rearing and ready to murder a bunch of Alethi.
Yeah.
Oof.
And he sees the Odium Spren flying about a little bit, and he's kind of confused. Oh, real quick retcon.
Yeah.
There were like a bunch of Spren that neither of them had seen hanging around the Chasm Fiend, and then when it died, a bunch of those Sprens just kind of like left.
Those were the.
And I feel like that was.
Shallan said those were the same Spren that followed the Sky Eels or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the?
And that was also, I think, mentioned back when they were on the hunt with the other one. I don't know. Maybe I'm false.
No, I think you're right. I think that these Spren always follow the Chasm Fiends for some reason.
Yeah, and we just don't know what their deal is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I don't know.
Might be important, but
it probably is going to be eventually.
Yeah. Anyway, back to present.
So while they're huddled in here, they decide to trade tragic backstories. And Kaladin tells his whole thing, conveniently starting it at the moment right after he killed Helleran.
Right, and he mentions that, Amaram's betrayal, but doesn't say why it happened.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh yeah, I never mentioned that I killed the Shardbearer in the stories because that was dangerous to say as a slave.
So, so he goes through, he tells her, like, basically everything except for, he just omits the part about killing her fucking brother. And also his storm powers, right? His stormlight.
Right.
Everything else, though, he just lays it all bare, which is great. I'm loving this openness from Kaladin. This is. I mean, he could be doing a little bit better with it, but he's doing pretty good.
And so he finishes up his thing, and Shallan's like, I killed my father. Let me take you on a journey. And Kaladin was like, whoa, your life is actually way harder than mine. My B.
Yeah, I don't think that. Does she also tell him that she killed her mom? I don't think she does,
I don't
right?
think so.
So she kind of starts her backstory from the point all of her flashbacks began for us, right?
Right. Yep.
And she walks him through all that. Holy moly. Kaladin now realizes at this point when he hears that Helleran went off as a shard bearer and got killed. He's like, ooh.
By Amaram, no less.
Yeah,
he had the line, he was like, oh, I killed him, didn't I?
Yeah. So Kaladin...
He had forgotten that's what happened.
Kaladin is aware of the fact. It's not like he's wondering about it. He knows that he killed Shallan's brother.
So he, isn't going to bring that up anytime soon.
Yeah, but maybe he
can't really blame
should, right? Cause
No, I mean,
she's going to find out eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And for all the time he spent aware of the fact and also not telling her, it's going to be that much worse, right?
Yeah.
So this really would have been the ideal time to just be like,
yeah.
I did kill him. Or maybe wait until she's like restrained and then say, I killed him. Because who knows what she's going to do. All right.
Yeah, so then he's like, oh yeah, your life has been way harder than mine. So sorry for judging you so harshly like it did. Might be. And they're like, he's like, oh, we're all cuddled up. Haven't been cuddled up with anybody since Terra, whoever that is.
It was just one of his old girlfriends or something, right? Back
old
in
flames,
back in his Hearthstone.
Right, and they're all soaked and her dress is all tattered, and he's getting it's getting a little dicey, Kaladin. Hey, now.
Well, he's not like doing anything. He's just like.
No, I know, but. Right, it's building the feels that were already starting.
Shallan clearly is platonic about it because she's still talking about how she can't wait to get back to Adolin. He'll kiss her in public and everything, Right. And Kaladin is just he's getting some feelings. He's catching feelings for Shallan.
Yeah, catch feelings. Yeah. So Kaladin kind of realizes that Shallan is probably a surge binder because he's like, she yanked me up in there. There were the illusions. I I couldn't have done all that accidentally. And then, boop, he's into a little vision with the Stormfather.
And also he says, like, I'm not going to bring it up now. And I'm like, why not, Kaladin? Bring it up!
Yeah. Right.
All right. The Stormfather, he says, child of Tanavest, child of honor. And I guess I'm now interpreting this as Tanavest is just another name for honor, which I think may be information we already had access to, but I just didn't pick up on it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, based on the Stormfather's words, Cal did super kill Syl. But again, I'm just really holding out hope.
Right. Stormfather, not necessarily the most reliable source, but he's like, you killed her, I knew you would do it, you're just like the old Radiance, you killed her, you took my beloved's friend, I hate you.
Yeah.
Go away.
And Kaladin had heard her weeping recently, and this was after the scream he heard, right? When she gave him Storm when he was falling. He did hear her weeping when he was fighting the Chasm Fiend, and he was like begging for her help, and I interpreted her weeping as like she couldn't give it to him, right?
Yep, yeah, I think so.
So
I think she's fine. I mean, not fine, but
well, damaged probably somehow, but also alive.
Yeah.
I hope.
Yep. Yeah, and then the storm kind of finally subsides. They've told their backstory. Shallan fell asleep, and Kaladin's like, "Well, we'll figure this out tomorrow," and then he goes to sleep.
Yep.
Little post-storm nap time.
They get back home. They made it.
The
main characters didn't die.
What? And they're like lying in this, triage tent with a bunch of surgeons attending to him. Kaladin's leg is all messed up. All the bridgemen are there surrounding him, like fawning over him, of course. And Dalinar hears that he's alive, so he sprints over there, and he's like, "I can't believe you made it out of there. What? Are you hey now?
Yeah.
Are you a Serge Bindy boy?" And Kaladin's like, I mean, I was, but I probably am not now. So, might be.
Yeah. Well, Kaladin, he says, maybe once upon a time, and it's like, dang, if Dalinar had put this together like literally 2 days ago,
we would have been in a whole different situation.
Because the way Kaladin said it kind of seemed like he would have said yes if Syl had still been around,
I mean, he more or less gives it away. It's a little cryptic.
Just really bad timing on that. That was really tragic. But again, Dalinar's just trying. He's he's trying to be the one character who clearly communicates things and gets stuff done.
Right.
Although Shallan and Kaladin both made great strides with telling each other their tragic backstories. I did love that.
Right. Navani kind of finally accepts Shallan after she realizes she's alive, and she goes full mom mode.
And I think this is really good. I really like this development because Navani did not have the option to be Yasna's mother because Yasna was Yasna, right?
Right.
But maybe she can be Shallan's mother, who didn't have a mother. So they can kind of fill those holes for each other.
Right. Shallan, she's like, hey, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm here for it.
Yeah, and they can be a duo of just very powerful women who are just, they're there for each other.
A lovely mother-daughter bond.
Yeah, that could be very cool.
So Shallan's back in Dalinar's place now, after her harrowing event. Kaladin's still being operated on with his leg that's just busted and he can't repair with Stormlight. And then Shallan sends Pattern out to spy on the conversation Dalinar and Navani are having in the hall, and Dalinar wants to take Shallan with because she said that the chasms are a pattern, and that's pretty important.
Yep. And she, of course, wants to go out anyways because, this is her goal. She wants to get to the middle and see the Oath Gate.
Yeah.
Pattern does say that Spren are immortal. So when we talk about killing them, really we're talking about breaking their minds, which is not a whole lot better.
Right. And, so they're like, all right, yep, we can set out. And Shallan's like, oh, hey, one more thing. One quick thing. Can we not take any of the parshmen? Don't ask me why. Trust me, Yasna wanted to as well.
Yeah.
And Dalinar's like, all right.
Yeah. Well, this is probably good, right? This is probably a good choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now in part 5, I expect this part 5 just to be the conflict, right? They're going to go out into the plains, and they're going to run into not what they expected, but an army of incredibly powerful Parshendi who can summon high storms. And we're going to see what happens. We're going to see what shakes out. Will Zeth make an appearance?
Is he gonna do something? Yeah.
Is Kaladin gonna
Of his
get?
own
Is
volition?
Kaladin gonna get Syl back? Is Kaladin gonna be able to go out and help? Or is he just gonna be in a triage tent for the entire last part?
Right. Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah. What? I'm excited. I honestly, as we're getting into a phase in this whole thing, John, where I think that I was listening to just a lot of this every day, and really not being able to give it my full attention. So like, the order of events right now, totally lost to me. I have no idea what order things happen in, like, and a lot of the details as well. I am just very shaky on. I honestly don't remember how this goes like at all. So I'm really excited. I'm having fun.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to book 4. I mean, like, it's as you said it in a pod, I think, during book 1. It's like, well, the farther we get, the more I'll be caught up with, knowing the same things you do.
Yes, exactly.
But book 4 is going to be all uncharted territory, baby.
All uncharted,
Both
baby.
of us driving blind.
Heck yeah.
Put your blindfold on and drive a car. Both of us.
Yes,
Blindfolds
yes.
on, car driving.
Yes.
I was wondering, just kind of casually, now that we're thinking about the Parshendi, what happened to the ones that escaped into the chasm during the high storm?
Well, they can just weather high storms, right? So I assume that it would be kind of lame if Brandon Sanderson made a point of telling us about these Parshendi and then they just died.
Correct.
Like we're just like in the next book and they're like, hey, we found a bunch of Parshendi corpses, and it's like, oh well, that's too bad. Yeah.
I'm just wondering when what their part will be in this final conflict.
Yeah, it sure would be convenient if they could show up like just ahead of everyone heading out to like give them like a little intel or something.
Right. Yeah.
Or maybe everyone will head out and Kaladin will still be behind, and then the group of Parshendi will come and Shen will be among them, and they'll find Kaladin and they'll be like, yo, you have to go catch them and tell them, and Kaladin will now, so determined to save lives and be a cool, honorable dude, Syl will be resurrected. I don't know.
Her mind put back together piece by piece.
Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Ooh,
so are we reading
wait.
the whole? Are we finishing the book next time?
No, we broke it in 2 parts. Although if we want to finish it all, we could.
Yeah, well, we'll see. If I have to keep reading, I have to keep reading.
All right, so the first part of part 5, I was gonna have us do. There's still interludes, of course, and it ends up being 34.5-ish thousand words.
Okay.
And then the second half of part 5 is another 34,000. So if you want to do 70,000 in the next week, we could.
So it's a chunky section.
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it might be actually longer than part 4.
Yeah.
I say let's do it as 2 parts.
Yeah, let's just do it in 2 parts.
And we're going to read up through chapter 81, The Last Day. Bum, 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 bum. Ooh, and one of the interludes is it's called Taravangian, and it's from the perspective of Taravangian.
Ooh.
Yes, I've been missing my
About
boy
time
Taravangian.
we got back to him. He was like the very last thing that happened in book 1, and we have heard not a peep.
Yeah, we have. I think we've heard like Carbranth was brought up once when Navani was talking about pumps, and she was like, "Oh yeah, in Carbranth they just do it with gravity." And yeah. But other than that, this has been like totally MIA. I am so psyched.
Oh, Taravangian.
I love Taravangian.
I was thinking a lot of, during this section, just about the whole series, like how it would be if, as a series on some streaming platform,
Yeah, dude, it would be really hard to. The thing is that Brandon Sanderson tends to write everything with kind of a purpose, right? There's some like little scenes that are just for fun, but I wouldn't want to cut those out because they tend to be really fun, right?
Right. Yeah.
But generally speaking, almost everything he draws your attention to feels like it comes up in some way or another down the road, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think that if you were going to make this into a series, it would be really hard to cut it down.
Like at all.
Like tastefully, like in a way that didn't make me really angry, and I'm sure other members of the fandom even angrier.
I'm sure I don't want this to happen, but I can't help but like picture exactly how a scene would like look, kind of like with the one with Adolin, but also like, the huddled up in the chasm, like that would be a super cool scene, just like seeing a high storm. But
yeah, this is the sort of series where like I would love to see it as a show, but I'm also scared to see it as a show. And this is not the way I feel about all the books I love. Like Wheel of Time, that was a series I really enjoyed reading, but that I think could be cut down very
Definitely
tastefully
could be cut down.
and compacted. I would love to re-experience that as a television show, right?
Mm-hmm. Who's what's the character that yanks on a braid all the time? Just cut out 90% of that.
Nynaeve. Take out
Nynaeve.
most of the braid yanking. Actually, I changed my mind. Every time time the braid is yanked in the series, I want one braid yank in the show.
Yeah,
And if you have to put them all really close together and do maybe just a montage, that's fine.
Yeah,
I'll take
yeah.
it.
I was gonna say Navani because I knew it was similar, but it's been like so long now since I read
Yeah.
like even one of those. So
Okay, hey, well, let's call
Let's
it
see.
for today, John. And next time
Yep.
we'll read beginning of part 5 and maybe throw a little party. Okay, well,
have pizza.
pizza party.
Bring your own pizza.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye.